What's the most challenging video game you've ever played? A common question that's asked when getting to know someone, and depending on the answer tells you how much play they get. Now, I won't mention the hardest game I've ever played, but today I want to talk about one of the most notorious series for testing your limits and the durability of your controllers, being Dark Souls. If you watched my video called 2023 was an awesome year, which I would highly recommend, you might notice that I put Dark Souls at number 5, but didn't really talk about it besides saying it's pretty good. And I did that because I want to make a video talking about everything I like about these games, as well as to encourage people to try these games out. And to make it clear, I'm only talking about 1 and 3 because I haven't played 2. Actually, I have some friends that have, so let's go ask them. Hey, what's your guys' thoughts on Dark Souls 2?
Worst game I've ever played. I can't even.
The bosses are not interesting. The enemy types are so samey.
Horrible, horrendous,
it's super punishing.
Never touch it. Don't touch it with 10. No.
Before we get to the main thing that Dark Souls is known for, let's first talk about the environments. Dark Souls has more dark and detailed environments, which while on the surface they may seem grim and full of constant death, the environments are full of goodies and encourage exploration. Every time you enter a new area, it can be really exciting to find something like Titanite shards, the material used to upgrade your weapons, or bone shards or firekeeper souls that used to upgrade your healing potions or Estus flasks. There are some tropes in both these games, like for example the infamous poison swamps like Blighttown and Farron Keep, but honestly aside from that, a lot of the areas can be really fun to explore. You never know what's going to be on the other side, which can make the joy of exploring that more fun. But that feeling when you lose a shit ton of souls from pure skill issues is a pain I haven't experienced until I played these games. Speaking of souls, let's talk about combat. In Dark Souls 1, combat is slower than 3, and between the two, I think it's better to start with because, well, it's the first game, and also because combat is a lot slower, it allows players that are just getting into it to understand Dark Souls combat. For example, you have an animation to play before you swing and after you swing, in which both these states you are very vulnerable to getting hit, so you have to wait for an opening to attack, most commonly found right after you dodge an attack. Actually, let's talk about dodging because I find it to be the most interesting and the most integral. Now, on the surface, it seems pretty simple. Just press B while moving and you'll roll or dodge. While this animation is playing, you have immunity frames, which will help with 99% of the attacks. The only instance that doesn't work is stuff like fire or lava that lingers. But you can't spam it, or at least you shouldn't, because ironically you're more likely to get hit because rolls have a cooldown, and when you roll either too early or too late, then obviously you'll take damage. Another reason why is because I didn't mention this until now, but every time you attack, dodge, run, and use magic, only in 2 and 3, you use stamina. That's right, so on top of dealing with your health and mana, if you decide to be a wizard as well as whatever you're fighting, you also have to manage your stamina. Now, to be real, this won't be a problem for the most part, unless if you're doing what I said not to do or you don't bother leveling up endurance, but even then, it's really easy to keep track of because most of the time you can only attack so many times until the enemy does the next attack. Plus, after learning an enemy's attack, you'll eventually understand how much damage you can get in until you have to run or dodge. Now, hearing all this, you might be overwhelmed or confused, and honestly, I don't blame you. Most of this isn't really taught, you have to experiment to see what works, and this is honestly one of the biggest flaws in my opinion. Let me make it clear though, I like when games do this, because it encourages you to play the game more, but some things don't even get explained to you, like for example equipment load, where if you're wearing too much or holding something that's too heavy, then you'll do what people call fat rolling. It's where the more armor you're wearing, the slower you'll be when rolling, so when you wear nothing, you roll really fast, but if you wear too much, then you'll stumble, which once again, you're more likely to get hit. And I haven't even mentioned the leveling up system. Hey, editing Ethan here, just say that I'm a dumbass. I forgot to explain how the leveling up system works. It's really easy. You get souls from killing enemies, including bosses, and when you sit at a bonfire, you can only level up 1 attribute of your little status, so you can only level up like endurance or vitality, and that'll count as 1 level. Just here to say that real quick. I realized I was editing and I forgot to say it. Alright, back to video. Bye bye. Unless if you're used to more standard RPGs, then you'll have no idea what some of these mean. Now yes, the games do explain what each of these do, but only if you hit the right button, which I didn't even know was a thing until months after beating Dark Souls 1 and 3, which is why, and I know a lot of people won't agree with me on this, but it's okay to use Google on this one. Now, I'm not saying to look up how to get free souls 2024, not clickbait, but if you don't know what something means, then by all means, look it up. For example, the way the games tell you what weapons are good for dex or strength builds is confusing. You see these letters right here? Yeah, that's how you're meant to tell what's good for your build. And to this day, I still don't know what these mean because it's that weird and confusing. Now, I know the Dark Souls vets are rolling their eyes, but seriously, how do you expect someone new to understand what all of this means? I mean, when I first started, this was just a bunch of gibberish to me, like as if it was a brand new language that I had to learn, which can set people off from trying these games. Now, luckily I had 2 friends that played these games before I did, so shout out to them for helping and encouraging me to try these games out, otherwise this video wouldn't exist. The final thing I want to talk about is easily one of the biggest things Dark Souls is known for: the boss fights. Now, most of the time you'll find a boss behind a fog gate was just there so you don't run away from the fight or skip it entirely, and there's only 2 options for leaving. Either A, beat the boss, or B, die trying. Bosses in these games have a few different attacks, which mostly range from standard attacks that do average damage, a heavy attack that does a good chunk of damage, and finally an AoE or area of effect. But like you, they have an animation to play before and after they attack, so you attack accordingly. I never mentioned this until now, but these are called anticipation frames. It's a term in the animation industry where a character will wind up or anticipate the action they'll do. So when you see a cartoon character about to throw a punch, you see them winding up and then punching. It's to tell the viewer what's about to happen, and Dark Souls is built off this whole idea. Every attack can be predicted if you know the anticipation animation before the attack happens. While there are a few exceptions with some anticipation animations being non-existent, everyone still has one. Find it and you should be golden. Now, every boss is hard in their own way, but there were quite a few that I found to be pretty easy with only taking a couple attempts to beat. And that's the magic of these bosses. Depending on your skill or reaction time, you might beat some of these bosses a lot quicker than others. In Dark Souls 1, I struggled on the Bell Gargoyles, Capra Demon, Ornstein Smo, Gravelord Nito, 4 Kings, and Gwyn. In Dark Souls 3, I struggled on the Abyss Watchers, Pontiff Sullivan, Champion Gundyr, Nameless King, which I haven't beaten, and Soul of Cinder. And you might find all these guys to be easy, which is what makes every playthrough feel so unique. However, I do have some tips up my sleeve in order to help you out if you're struggling a bit too much. For starters, try finding or upgrading a better weapon. Finding a weakness to a boss might be the straw that will break the boss's back, giving you the victory. Some weapons require special Titanite shards, and if so, there are some things you can do to help find them, like looking up a guide of some kind. And the same thing can apply for your Estus Flask, just be on the lookout for upgrades which can make or break your runs. Tip number 2 is maybe you're underleveled. There are some optional bosses out there that can help you just enough to win. Tip number 3 is resource management, and more specifically your Estus Flasks. Maybe you use them too much or not enough. You want to ideally use them when your health bar is around halfway, and if you're close to death, don't be afraid to double heal. Your main priority is to stay alive long enough to beat the boss, and if all else fails, then I'd say take some attempts to just practice dodging the attacks. The more consistent you are on dodging certain attacks, the more likely you are to win. And if all else fails again, you can summon. Summoning is where you and an NPC will fight the boss together, and while they don't have the same amount of health as you, they'll still be helpful even if it means getting a cheeky heal or hit in. When I was making this video, I didn't want to be another reviewer just saying that this game is good, me like you play, but rather a video saying that you should give these games a shot. I know it's an expensive shot, but trust me, once when you get into the groove of these games, it's hard to put down. Hell, the reason why this video took so long is because I've been sucked into Elden Ring. I know that if I can beat these games, then you can too. It might seem scary and intimidating, but once you've played and beat these games, you'll realize how amazing they truly are. The feeling of pure satisfaction of beating a boss is something you have to experience for yourself in order to understand. It's a feeling that feels so good that it keeps me going. I'm excited to finish Bloodborne and try Lies of P because both these games seem like a lot of fun, and I can't wait for the next Souls game that I'll play that will kick my ass. On to the end card. Oh my god, I'm finally back from my break, and it honestly lasted a lot longer than I expected. Like, after the new year began, I was still on break, which was due to 1, not being used to making content again, and 2, because I was working more, and you know how it is, I'm only one person, I get tired, which equals me not making jack shit. Plus with stuff like helping out the family a lot, seriously, I help them out more than I work on videos or even do schoolwork. But either way, I'm excited to start making content again, and I hope you're all excited for the videos I have planned. Special thanks to my two good friends, Danny and Shanaz, for helping me out in the intro bit. They did an excellent job. You can probably tell that I got a brand new Schmexy microphone, the Shure SM57 that I got from my grandpa, and a Focusrite audio interface from my uncle. Major thanks to both of them for giving them to me. I do genuinely appreciate it. It means a lot. Not only that, but they saved me on like $200, so once again, thanks a lot. I know I'm 4 months late, but I hope everyone's New Year is going well. I know mine has, especially considering I got enough money to save up for a Steam Deck, which, oh my god, I love this thing. It's everything I could have asked for, just something to play Steam games on the go. Recently, I've been playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which has been super good. I wish I played this sooner. You might notice a slight echo, and that's because I have a much bigger room now, so I apologize for that. It shouldn't be there the next time you hear my stupid, goofy voice. I'll probably be trapped in a closet or something. I'll wrap it up here so I can play Final Fantasy VII more. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.